I'm worried that we're in a sustained inflationary environment. I'm worried about that. I hope that we're not. But then the question, Jason, secondarily is then what do the markets do? And what's so interesting today is like the markets shook it all off. I mean, like you could not have had a worse inflation print. Everything was up. Every component of it was up. Everything looked horrible. And people were like, meh.
As the Ukraine-Russia conflict persists and the repercussions from COVID are not being properly fixed, the record-growing inflation is still one of the biggest hikes since the 70s. With the inflation numbers still lingering in the highs, the natural question is, what will happen next? Chamath, together with his members of the All In podcast, explains what is to be expected in the future. Will the economy slow down or are we heading into a prolonged recession? So let's see what they have to say.
You know, we talked about this, that this was going to be a big print, right? I think we all expected this to be a big print. I actually also kind of put myself on a limb there and I said, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we print a mid to high nines, maybe even a 10 handle at some point.
We're getting there.
And the reason is because, you know, rents are a little, you know, they lag in how they're reported inside of CPI. So we have a couple more months to go of rents, and rents aren't moving or budging a bit. That's number one. We do see a little bit of fall off in energy prices, but I'm not so sure that it's enough, frankly, to move the needle. So I think that we could be in a sustained period for a while. The more interesting thing I thought today was that Canada surprised everybody and raised their benchmark interest rate by 100 basis points.
Okay.
So and they just came 1 full point, 100 bips, and they just said, "We're going for it. We need to tame this. We need to break the back of inflation."
They ripped the Band-Aid off. Yep.
Yeah. And, you know, and I think if you read the Fed minutes more carefully, I think Jerome Powell is basically ready to do the same thing.
Yep.
After this inflation print, the expectation for July went to 80 basis points from 75, which means a small percentage of people actually think it's going to be 100. And September, I think, moved to 75. So the question is that enough? I just don't know. I don't know.
And to be clear, this is for June. The data we got on today, July 13th, is for June. What we did see in July, because we can track oil prices, that's down 20% month over month. And the CPI has been driven largely by oil. So speak to that, Chamath. What do you think it's going to be in July when we get it in August?
No, but yes and no, because again, the owner equivalent rents are up so much that they may actually, you know, break even, right? Meaning rents go up by so much, oil goes down by so much, they cancel, and we're still at 9.
Okay, so that's your prediction for July, which we'll get in August. You think 9?
Yeah, I'm worried that we're in a sustained inflationary environment. I'm worried about that. I hope that we're not. But then the question, Jason, secondarily is then what do the markets do? And what's so interesting today is like the markets shook it all off. I mean, like you could not have had a worse inflation print. Everything was up.
Well, 10.
meaning like it was beyond the number that was expected. Every component of it was up. Everything looked horrible. And people were like, meh.
Is that because the market is future looking, Sachs? The market is basically pricing, we'll get through this in 6 to 12 months. Is that what you're saying, Sachs?
The markets are down right now, to be clear. The print was definitely worse than expected. They were expecting they were expecting 8.8%. It was 9.1. Last month's number was 8.6. I remember us talking about inflation a couple of months ago, saying that we thought it had peaked, you know, maybe in April or May at the latest, simply because inflation is measured on a year-over-year basis. And we were starting to lap much bigger comps last year. Remember this conversation?
Yes.
Well, the lapping effect turned out not to be enough, and inflation is still rising. So we have not yet peaked on CPI. I understand that core we have peaked, but deciding to exclude energy and food, I mean, that's a pretty arbitrary decision. Those are two really important variables that matter to the ordinary American for sure. So we still have this problem. And to Chamath's point, we don't know when it's going to subside.
At the end of the day, the biggest question is, when will the inflation start to cool down and head to the optimal levels where it should be? How much of a severe recession we have to endure for the Fed to solve this ongoing problem? And can it get much worse before we see a sign of markets gaining back their strength? Although the data for July is showing some cooling down on inflation, still the question persists: how long will this hike last? Let's jump to the All In podcast and see what's in store for us for the future.
It feels like things are turning over in real estate. We talked about that last week. The number of homes being listed is skyrocketing. The number of mortgages being originated is plummeting while the rate goes up. So we're going to see mortgage rates probably go 6-7% towards the end of the year. That's going to put a huge kibosh. The high-end real estate is also starting to get hit massively. The number of listings is going up in the high end, and the number of sales is plummeting. So that was one of the cards we wanted to see turn over, and it looks like that's turning over.
Just one small clarification is, we obsess over CPI right now because we're all kind of these fake macro wannabe traders. But I just want to remind you, because the Fed has been pretty clear about this, they don't focus on CPI. They focus on something else instead called PCE, which is the Personal Consumption Expenditure Price Index.
Yes.
And I don't know what the flow through from CPI to PCEPI is exactly, but that is the broadest measure of goods and services, which does include food and energy. So it stands to reason that PCE may stay elevated for a while, which may give the Fed enough of the motivation they need to go 100, to go another 100, or maybe go 170 and then a 75. I think that David's point is right. Like, all this taming that we've been expecting to see, we haven't seen it. And so every month it's like, oh, it's coming next month. Every month it's been, oh, it's happening next month. At some point, you may just have to say, maybe we're in like a sustained period for a while, and I have to believe it's going up before I believe it's going to stay stable or go down.
Well, we did see energy go down. Housing, we are seeing now starting to contract. The number of price cuts has been surging, according to Redfin. So I think we're starting, and the layoffs obviously happened 2 months ago. So don't we think that we're starting to see the headwinds? And then we were talking to a buddy of ours who's big in the airline space. He said, God, and I think you were pointing out this statistic, that Heathrow is now capping the number of people who can fly because it's been so crazy.
So overloaded with traffic of passengers that they today came out and said, we are capping the number of passengers to 100,000 a day. No more.
And this is after the cost of those flights was skyrocketing, $6,000-$7,000.
I really go back to what Sachs. Go back to what Sachs said before. The nugget for me of this entire summer was what he said about his takeaway from the COTU conference. Right, just to remind people, that the person said something to the effect of, "Oh well, look, all these other people will be saving money and cutting jobs. I intend to hire, and nothing has changed for me." And the comment that I made in our group chat is, well, maybe that's the psychology of everybody. It's not just the CEO of a company.
Just to be clear, what COTU did is they polled all the founders in the audience. The poll results showed that on the one hand, everyone in the audience understood that we were headed for a big downturn and economic conditions and fundraising were going to be much tougher. On the other hand, all the founders, or 2/3 of them, said that they were going to use this downturn to accelerate their business, as opposed to cut. My one-on-one conversations with the various founders basically are in line with that, which is, it's all not me. I know everybody else is going to be impacted, is going to have to cut, but I'm going to be the one exception. And there will be exceptions, absolutely, but everybody can't be the exception.
So I hear,
consumers are saying, I'm going to still buy my car. I'm still going on my summer vacation. Everybody else has to make cuts.
Well, it doesn't matter what they say. Consumers are behaving that way. American Airlines basically put out where they thought they were going to be. Their stock was up 10%. Heathrow says we have too much traffic. We're going to cap it at 100K. There was an article about, U.S. home prices and rents. And there were these two housing companies in the Wall Street Journal that were profiled. And both of them serve middle income neighborhoods in Houston and these other places. They're like, we've never done better business. And, there are fewer and fewer people buying homes because of mortgage rates. They all want to rent. We, we have complete ball control. And so where is the stopping and the slowing down of spending? It just may be reflexively this thing where everybody feels like to have the polite dinner conversation, they have to talk about how they're pulling back. It doesn't seem like anybody's pulling back.
Austerity measures have not hit yet. Yeah.
Well, I think they are in the process of working, but it just takes a while. Yeah. I mean, what I would say is, look, we are 100% going to solve this inflation problem. Why do I say that? Because price levels are fully within the power of the Fed. They just have to raise interest rates high enough. Paul Volcker proved that in the early 1980s. He had to raise interest rates as high as 20%, but he crushed the inflation in the 1970s. But that's what it took. So I have no doubt that the Fed can stop inflation. I think the question is, how much pain are they going to have to inflict? How high do rates have to go? And how long do we live through this sort of stagflationary period? And that's the unsettling thing, is it doesn't seem like we're anywhere near the end of this yet.
I wrote this last week in a little note, but this is why if you look at the Taylor rate again, and people have abandoned the Taylor rate. It's not what it used to be, I guess, but it's still pretty directionally accurate, which is what is the true equilibrium interest rate that allows us to basically manage and meet supply and demand together so that we have a calm, stable economy. And that stable equilibrium rate is approaching 5%. Our target, the collective wisdom of the market believes that 3% is enough to get the job done. We're right now at 1.5 to 1.75. So if there's any number between 3 and 5 that is the true price, we have a lot of work to do to get there.
And that's it for today. Please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content. And drop a comment below what you think will happen in the future. Will we see a cool off for the inflation, or will it persist and the recession will last longer than shorter? Thanks for watching, and we will see you another time.